Hey friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode on The Success Factor. I'm the host, Trent Christensen, and in this episode, I interview Kelli Calabrese. She is a certified divorce coach that helps a lot of other women, empowering them to overcome stress, rejection, fear, to get over the excruciating pain of a divorce so that those individuals can heal from the grief, get healthy, and create a fabulous new life that's better than what they have asked for or even thought of in the past or even imagined. She is someone who has had a lot of fitness experience. She's owned quite a few gyms in New Jersey in the past. She lives in Texas now, and she's enjoying her life. She's eliminating all negativity, which we talk about towards the end of the episode. It was actually a pretty cool quote that she said. She just basically eliminates negativity. If there's negativity associated to it, she'll eliminate it. And so that she'll keep her growth mindset, her positive thinking, and eliminate all the negativity. She is a coach. She's also a speaker, and she works with a lot of individuals. She has a huge following. A lot of people go to her for her advice, overall energy, and overall motivation to reimagine and recreate the life and embrace the dreams and visions that each individual have, specifically women. And so this was a really powerful episode, and I hope you enjoy it. Check it out. Thanks. So you're in Dallas, outside Dallas?
I am.
And how long have you been there? Because you were in New Jersey for a while, right?
I've been here 16 years. I was in New York for 13. I was in New Jersey about 23 or so.
Okay, cool. So I lived in Jersey before moving here. We were there for about 4 years. We lived in Chatham, New Jersey.
Okay, I was in Chester.
All right.
Just west of you.
Yeah, I know where Chester's at. Same train route to the city, which is good.
Yes.
And you had 14 gyms there? Or did I read that right?
4 gyms, and then I had a bunch of corporate sites that I ran for companies like Calvin Klein, BMW, Nabisco, AT&T, Beneficial Insurance. Yeah.
That's really cool. I don't know why you moved to Dallas and gave all that up. I miss New Jersey myself, but
things happen in seasons, right? So that season was ending, and we love the weather, and it's just nice place to be. Geographical, you can be East West Coast pretty easily, and I was kind of tired of the snow and don't mind change.
Yeah, I hear you. The snow does get to you after a while, although living in Phoenix, which is where we're at now, I would say that it's the heat. It's crazy.
It is.
It is crazy.
Why we have 2 homes.
Yeah, I know. I need my mountain retreat home next to a river or a lake, high altitude, and then the valley home here for the off season. That's what I need.
Exactly.
How did you get into fitness? Was this something you wanted to do as a little girl or what?
Absolutely. I was 13 when I wrote in my journal, I will be an exercise therapist. And I wrote about 20 other things at that same time, and almost every single one of them has happened. We do things to move towards pleasure and away from pain. So the away from pain for me was a really strong family history: heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer, alcoholism. I looked at all that and went, ugh. Oh, and nothing to do with that. And the move towards was I loved when I was running, dancing, jumping, swimming, cheerleading, softball. I'm like, wow, what do people not get about this endorphin rush? This is really awesome. I want all people to feel this way and be this well and this healthy.
Yeah, that's actually a really good motive. And it's funny because not a lot of people feel that way today. In fact, I think we've gone reverse course in our country from a endorphin hit perspective through fitness and health. Why is that?
Well, there's a group of people who are getting it, really getting it. And those who are, they're really taking it to very high levels. They're going organic and green and natural and only putting wholesome things in their body. And you can take it far. You can really go to extremes of being healthy. And there's a group that really, really is getting it and wants to live longer, stronger, healthy, energetic, vibrant years. But unfortunately, there's still a big group, especially in America, that follow a traditional American lifestyle, which is a lot of fast foods, convenience foods, processed foods, and pretty sedentary lifestyle. And it's just because everything's become so convenient that we don't have to do a whole lot of work to get to inexpensive food that's not good for us. And with all of the modern technology, we just don't have to move very much. And it's also very addictive. So we get sucked into sitting in front of technology and not being out in nature.
Yeah, all of that is true. Amen, sister. I totally agree with you on that. I've been watching some food documentaries recently with my kids. One of the things that we watched recently was, I forgot the name of it, but it had to do with the fact that we got it wrong with the fat-free diet. And because your body and your brain needs fat, it needs healthy fat.
We do need healthy fats in order for our cells to communicate. That's part of what opens and closes your cells is you need fats. There's messengers in there that tell your hormones and your cells what to do. And fat is part of it. So we cannot get rid of fat, but we want the healthy fat, not the trans fats.
I agree on that one too. Have you heard of Dave Osprey with Bulletproof?
Yes.
So I was in New Jersey commuting 3 hours a day on the trains to the city because we lived in Chatham, but I worked in Midtown New York. And I did an experiment because I got turned on to Bulletproof podcasts and listening to Dave and soaked up all of his products, MCT oil and all of that. And so I did an experiment and I did not exercise, although I would say I was doing quite a bit of walking from train to train and train to the office. I put butter, just pure butter in my black coffee at the time. And I was a big coffee drinker then. All I did was put like probably 2 or 3 of those little cubes of butter in my coffee. And I had that for breakfast daily. And that was literally the only thing I did differently. And it only took a few weeks to notice a difference. And a few months, I was losing pounds and getting fit. And I'm like, I don't work out. I don't get it. I haven't changed my other diet. But I feel like little things like that can go a long ways too.
Dave's awesome. He's one of those biohacking guys that is
Mhm.
always looking for, what are the things that we can do to age naturally? And he also does some things that are extreme. I would say to people, if you want to try things, see what works, just make sure it's reasonable, it's backed by science, it's healthy, and then pay attention to what your body is doing. Is this something that's making you feel better or worse? Are you getting
Yeah.
results or not?
How do you feel too, like energy wise? And do you feel like you want to go and actually finish your job, your tasks or whatever? Or do you want to just go crawl in bed?
Right. Yeah, we
Yeah.
want to do all these things so that we have more energy and our brains work and we can thrive and go out and do fun things and serve and live a full, vibrant life.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about the spousal effect? Do you have a spouse that supports this fitness and health mindset or not?
So I was married for 25 years and my husband was an exerciser and he did go to the gym. It was part of our lifestyle. So he was supportive of me exercising and he was also an exerciser. I've been coaching clients for over 35 years. So I have definitely seen where the spouse can sabotage the exerciser if they're a non exerciser. I have seen it divide marriages, whereas they're growing older and one is healthy and strong and fit and vibrant and the other one is sort of, letting themselves go, less energy over time, that can definitely divide a marriage. It doesn't have to, but the physical part and the energy that you vibrate out into the world is a big part of it. And there's a lot of research to show exercisers typically earn more money, they live longer, they're healthier, more adventurous, less health issues, they sleep better. So when one person is doing those things and that's a high value for them and the other isn't, there definitely can be a disconnect there because it affects your eating choices. And that's a big part of people's lives. One wants to eat or cook healthy and the other doesn't. So there definitely has to be some compassion in there if they love each other and they're just going to have this difference or not. People definitely go separate ways. But all that you can do is be the best version of you and hope to be an example for your spouse and that they catch on to it because anything could happen. They can dig their heels in and go, no, you're not changing me. And I'm going to go gain 100 pounds. And obviously that's silly and doesn't serve anyone, but I've seen it happen.
Or they go order pizza every week and go to Taco Bell for lunch every day.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, I can't do this. You're tempting me too much.
It's a big
Interesting.
deal.
Yeah, absolutely. How about your kids? Do your kids adopt this lifestyle or do you find it difficult to get them to buy into this overall kind of mantra?
Absolutely. So they're almost 21 and 22. They have been athletes their entire lives. My daughter did volleyball, softball, basketball. She's an equestrian even right now in her college years. My son has been an athlete his entire life. He's super fit. He's about 4% body fat. This is their lifestyle. They go to the gym. They send me pictures from the gym at college. They are not into the party scene and it's a lifestyle for them. So they make healthy choices. Thankfully, if I did a couple things right, that was,
Yeah.
I'm sure I missed a bunch of things, but the one thing that they do have is they're very upright in really taking care of their bodies and not pushing the limits with destructive things. And it's who they are, it's their identity. We always had a home gym, we were at the gym. And so my son's a collegiate baseball player. He's actually has a degree in kinesiology and he is a coach. My daughter's been a coach. So it is their lifestyle.
That is really cool. It shows that you rub off on your kids, whether you know it or not. And you probably had a huge influence on their desire to go and follow that type of mindset and overall fitness and health approach to life. It plays a role, right? Parents have an influence on their kids one way or the other, and that's a positive influence.
Yes, they both got their license at 16, and the first place they drove to get a job was at a children's gym. It was a Ninja Warrior gym, and they did all the classes and the birthday classes, and so that's how they spent their high school years being a coach, so that was fun to watch.
Yeah, that's cool. You talked a little bit about how there's a lot of benefits to having an overall healthy, fit type of lifestyle, but how do you think it contributes to your ability to achieve success in life?
Yeah, so obviously there's discipline that goes along with being healthy. It's a choice. So usually an exerciser is going to get up a little bit earlier. It takes work. There's days you don't want to go to the gym. And then when you get there, you're exerting effort. You're putting out energy and working on strength and endurance and flexibility. And so that takes a certain discipline, but it sets the tone for the day. Morning exercisers have the highest compliance, but it also gets your brain going, gets your energy up, it gets your awareness up. And once you do that, you're probably not going to leave the gym and eat donuts. You're going to leave the gym, you're going to have a protein shake, or you're going to have a veggie egg white omelet, or something healthy. So you're starting your day with healthy choices and it continues. So there's a good chance during your exercise time, you might listen to a podcast. So now you're putting positive messages in, listening to music that inspires you. And it just cascades into the rest of your day. So it's this ripple effect. And people who exercise, that's a way to manage stress. So you got your stress out before you even got to the office. You understand how to breathe when you're an
Mhm.
exerciser. So you can use breathing techniques to lower the stress in your body. You tend to sleep better when you're an exerciser. So having better quality sleep means that now you're regulating your hormones, you're detoxifying your body. So many things happen during sleep versus people who don't sleep, that now their brains are fogged, they're less patient, they're more likely to crash their cars, not be productive at work. So almost everything in your life, your sex life, I mean, everything's going to be affected when you are physically fit in positive ways. There really are not any negatives to being an exerciser. And when you have that kind of discipline, you can apply it to parenting, to your career, to relationships. Because just
Yeah.
like, people in the military, they have that foundation of knowing you get up, you get it done, you do the hard things. And always love to hire people who've been in the military because I know they understand what it's like to have discipline and get up and get stuff done.
Yeah, discipline is really, really important. And to that point, let's say someone that's listening is not either doing conscious eating or aware of their diet, and they're also not exercising. What would you say is most important if they were to take one action today? Would it be changing your diet and working on your overall intake quality, or would it be to not focus on that first and go and exercise one way or the other? Which one of the two is the most important thing that if you change one thing, you focus on that first?
Yeah, really, it depends on what is the person willing to do because we can give them great advice all day long, but what are they willing to do? So if you gave them a list of things and say, okay, which one of these would you be willing to commit to? And if they go, well, I could drink more water. Great, let's start there. And then sometimes I'll give them options on a to don't list. So what are the things you're doing that you're willing to stop? Okay, you're staying up watching TV till 2 in the morning or playing video games or drinking a bottle of wine or whatever it is. Like, can you stop doing something harmful? And when you stop doing something that's not contributing to your health and success, that opens up space and makes room for doing something positive. So, can you turn your watching porn or horror movies or whatever to a good podcast like this that's putting good things in? Can you take one soda and make it a water? So a lot of times it's swapping out for something better. But if you just give someone an exercise plan, an eating plan, and they're not ready, they're just never going to do it. So a lot of times I'll start with what to stop
Mm.
and then start to choose one at a time something healthy and then they build on each other. There's that ripple effect because you start feeling better drinking water and then your brain health is better, you'll start dropping a little weight, your pants fit better, and then you want to go outside and walk because you have more energy and you're not bloated and your joints don't hurt.
Yeah.
So it's really the thing that they're willing to pick. But if I had to say, what are the keystone things? Obviously, drinking water, obviously, moving your body, putting in things that nourish your body, and getting out in nature and moving. Those are the basics of a place to start.
It seems like a lot, and maybe a lot of people get overwhelmed by that, right? Because there's so many different aspects you have to change, and some people are not even aware of these necessary changes or not doing any of them. The overall quantity of these type of shifts that you have to do to be able to align perfectly with eating right, balancing fitness, balancing health, and changing your overall work-life balance and intake balance. What do you think is the biggest limiting factor, or what do you think is the biggest reason why people either don't stick with it or don't start it?
95% of what we do after the age of 35 is habitual. So we have developed a habit that by the age of 35, that's what we do 95% of the time for the rest of our life, unless there's some cataclysmic event that comes in and changes it. But it's just something that we learned. So whether we learned it from our parents or when we went to college or we just got in this routine with a spouse, we just repeat it over and over and over. It's like Groundhog Day every single day. So you need to do something different. And it starts with a belief. So, for example, if I'm a cigarette smoker and I believe smoking is good for me, I'm not going to stop smoking. There's nothing anyone is going to do, no facts, no pictures of black lungs. I mean, it doesn't matter. If I think smoking is good for me, I am not ready. But if I'm ready to think about joining a gym, I might start to look at gyms online. Do I think I'll fit in there? What does it cost? I might start to look
Mhm.
at running shoes. And so there's a preparation and a readiness to eventually people get to the point where either the pain is so great of being unfit, overweight, out of shape, exhausted, or the pleasure is so great, like, hey, my boyfriend just broke up with me. I need to look hot. I better, get in the gym and figure this out. There's gotta be some motivation, but it starts with a belief. And so the belief then becomes a thought, something you start thinking on, like, I think I gotta work out. I think I gotta work out. And you start noticing people are exercising around you. It heightens your awareness in the front of your brain. And then that thought, you start to speak it. You start to tell people, like, I think I'm gonna join the gym, or what do you think about yoga? Or do you know any place where I could get a bike? Or you just start to speak it and tell people, like, I am gonna lose 20 pounds. Then that speaking, you start to act on it. It's just natural. When whatever you say, you start to act on. Then that action starts to become habit. You'll do that over and over and over. And then that will become part of your character. Like, I'm someone who goes to yoga now on Saturday mornings. And then it's your identity. Like, this is
Yeah.
the new me. Like, I go to the gym 5 days a week, or I'm doing CrossFit, or I signed up for a marathon. And it becomes who you are. Just like
Mhm.
the current you is who you are, it's a result of every thought, every decision, every action, every habit that you have. And we have the beauty of changing that at any time.
What have you seen happen with people you've trained and coached and worked with in terms of their overall mental health? How have you seen people shift from either a load of medications to maybe even not even needing any based upon fitness, health, and diet?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that people can do, starting out with breath work. It can calm your body down. Journaling is a great tool where people can just take their thoughts and write them down. They can start to dream again and write that down. They can write goals down or just whatever they're anxious about. They can create a prayer list. Just getting it from your head onto paper is huge. Things like stretching, flexibility, yoga, any of that is a great way. It's a great tool that people can use to calm down. The meditation is so powerful because most people don't do it. So when you do it, it's like, wow, this is an opportunity to really relax, release. And I have them do what I call like a heaven experience. If you're just
Mhm.
going to lay there, why not imagine the highest possible thing that you can think of? And for me, that's heaven. So I have them lie there and just imagine that kind of an experience and see where that takes them. And that's where incredible things can happen that go beyond any coaching that I could do with them. Movement, getting in nature. Take your shoes off, go stand in the sand by the water or the lake, or get under trees. Like, get in awe, go out and look at the stars, get out from under your fluorescent lights and talk to people, connect. And there's
Yeah.
so many things that people can do to get out of the fear and the chaos. Connecting with people is huge. That's why we're here. Isolation does the opposite. When people spend too much time alone, and then there's that voice in their head that's always going, "You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not making enough
Right.
money. You're" So get around people that are where you want to be because your surroundings really make a difference. So if you're surrounding yourself by people who catastrophize and gossip and they're decisive and just toxic, that's what you become. You want to be around people that are brave and nurturing and adventurous and love to learn and move towards their goals or whatever it is that you want to do. Find your people, get around your tribe.
What's the most inspiring success story that you have witnessed or transformation experience with someone who has come into your life and looked for your coaching, your help, or whatever to change their fitness, their health? And what's the coolest transformation story that you've witnessed?
I'll tell you the first big one that I remember, I was 17 and I was in New Jersey, owned the health clubs, and this guy was a big time New York attorney. And when he would walk into the health club, and you could feel like, like he was just so tense and angry and intense. And then they gave him to me, and I was 17 and I started working with him. And the very first session, I asked him, "Well, what are your goals?" And he said, "To drive a Mercedes SL." And at the time, I was like, "I'm not sure how I'm going to help you do that." He's like, "Well, I can afford it, but I can't fit behind the wheel." Okay. All right. We got something to work on then. And as he started coming in, as the weeks went by, wow, you could just see this bounce in his step. Belly was going down, his coloring was coming back, his posture was improved. He would say to me, "Yeah, the people at work, they just think I'm happier. They're noticing, they're saying stuff." And he goes, "Yeah, even my wife likes me better and it's fun. My kids are fun." And all this stuff that just completely had eluded him before because he was so intense and so angry. And so it was all of a sudden, it was like, wow, taking that physical, but also the mental and the emotional spills over. So I was able to start by doing physical things with him, but it affected every area of his life. And one more recently, I also do relationship coaching in addition to the health, fitness, nutrition. And this woman came in and she was like, "Oh, I hate my husband. I can't stand to be in the room with him. I hate his tattoos. I'm moving into the guest room." I mean, she was like, I'm like, "Okay, let's take a breath. Let's just start to work on you. Let's just forget him for now, but let's just work on you." And so we worked on her and we worked on who her authentic self was. And she needed to forgive in her life because she was holding a lot of anger and bitterness. And we worked on just renewing the old story she was telling herself and the fear about what she thought her future was going to be like. Anyway, that was about 2 years ago. And now I just love seeing her and her husband and her whole family. And they are united, they are connected, they are in love. And they do everything together and they dream. And it's just, they were totally headed towards divorce, but her working on herself. And of course, he wanted to stay married, helped. But
Yeah.
now it's better than either one of them could ever imagine. They're fit, they vacation, they exercise together. It's beautiful to watch.
Let's talk about that. That's a cool story. They both are. But what is it that you do? What are some of the key changes that you immediately do with her in this case to make those changes? And what's the first few things that you do?
Yeah, one of the things is identity. We see ourselves a certain way in the world based on things in the world. Like, I'm a wife, I'm a trainer, I wear these shoes, I drive this car, I whatever. But all of those things can go away in a moment. They can.
Yeah.
Your husband can leave you, even your kids at 18 or so, they're going to leave the house and you could lose your job, your car, whatever. So, really getting to the core of who is your authentic self. And doing those meditations really help people to get there. So I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist. We're not doing like deep, deep, deep work like that, but really just going, okay, what's the story you're telling yourself about your life? And are you really conforming to who you think you're supposed to be? Or is there something greater that you're called to that we can help you to move towards? I'll usually start a coaching session with what would make today a great conversation. So I
Mhm.
ask really good questions that get them to think differently. They're like, "Wow, no one's ever asked me that before. What would make this great?" So I ask them a lot of questions that get them to think differently and then they act differently. A big one is definitely forgiveness. We
Yeah.
all hold grudges. We all want to blame. We all want to burn people who have done us wrong and not taking that away. People do terrible things to people. There's abuse and just awful things that happen. We're all human and we hurt people hurt us, but you can't carry that. So the
Yeah.
ones who can accept it are the ones who do the best. So if you're like, he didn't cheat on me, I didn't just get fired, you're going to stay stuck and stopped and in pain a long time. You're going to suffer. But if we can
Yeah.
get you to accept, okay, this is where you are. And so I take them through these grief stages, and it really starts with shock when something happens like, whoa, there was just an accident, or my business partner just stole all the funds, or whatever the thing is. Like, there's shock, and then there's numbness where you almost shut down. You can't even function. And
Right. You just
then
want to check
there's,
out. You just want to hide. You just want to bury your head in the sand.
yeah, you're just totally not like your brain literally is not working. It's almost like PTSD. And then there's denial, like, no, wait a minute, this doesn't happen. This didn't happen to me. I did all the right things. This is no, no, no. Wait a minute, hold on. I was the good girl. Then there could be emotional outbursts and anger. There's fear that sets in when people start projecting about the future.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll get to a point where they start searching, like, okay, I need to figure this out. And they start looking for what could that look like? And there'll be some disorganization and some chaos because we never get it right the first time and it's not perfect and we need to figure it out. And that's part of it. Some people will panic. They're just going right to that anxiety, panic. And through this grief cycle, you can't really skip any places. So there may be guilt, there may be loneliness, isolation, depression. So wherever I catch them in this cycle, I help to move them along to the next place so they don't stay stuck or stop. And it's never linear. It's not like, okay, then you go from lonely to depressed to angry to you get triggered. It's messy and
Yeah.
people move through one phase a little bit easier and other phases they may get stuck there for a long time. So my job as a coach is to keep asking them really good questions to get them to think differently, to commit to some action steps and help keep them accountable to whatever those action steps are.
That's incredible. I think a lot of people hold on to these cycles for a very long time. And I would venture to say some of them actually really repeat themselves too. I've gone through some stuff in the last few years, family related, that was just horrible. And I experienced every single one of those phases you just mentioned. And it really wasn't until you understand that the forgiveness is there to benefit you. You benefit. It helps you. It helps you grow. It helps you learn. And it helps you release the negative toxicity and energy that's holding you back from achieving whatever you want to achieve. And it was so empowering, not just for any other purpose, but just for me. And I didn't realize that until I went through something traumatic.
So true. I mean, when you finally forgive yourself, that is harder than forgiving anyone who did you wrong. Because if you're
Yeah.
feeling like a failure or guilty or rejected or whatever it is, you're burying all that down and we're going to do something to try and function. So we're either going to stuff it down or we're going to minimize it like, oh, that wasn't really a big deal. Or we'll just rationalize it. Oh, well, that happened because of this. Or we'll sort of compromise or blame or pun it. We're going to do something when we're not forgiving ourselves. But when we do, there's this whole freedom that literally you'll feel like, wow, like so much better, so much lighter because you're not burning yourself. You're not holding your own feet to the fire anymore. And so the highest level of forgiveness is what I call living a pre-decided life. So I pre-decide to live in peace. I pre-decide not to judge. I pre-decide not to criticize, not to be a victim, not to let the government, politics, whatever affect my day. I pre-decide I'm going to look for a win-win in every situation. So when you go about your day like that, you're not going to get upset when someone cuts you off. Like, okay, that's on them. They're having a bad day. Or if someone comes at you and you're like, wow, I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm not going to receive that. And I'm also quick to apologize. If I did something to offend someone else, I'm going to apologize quickly, sincerely, and just create this atmosphere of forgiveness with people that I'm in relationship with. So making sure they know that I will apologize if I feel like I did something to offend them and just create that atmosphere and they'll start to do the same thing. So now you're putting an end to that cycle of ugly, bitter daggers and thorns and hatred and you're getting addicted to a cycle of forgiveness instead of a cycle of pain and judging and
Yeah.
blaming and all that. So it just becomes the culture in your home and in your relationships when you're quick to, you know what? I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to do that. I love you. And then you can take it from there and build. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, doesn't mean you'll forget it, but it's about releasing it, not carrying it.
Everyone has triggers and everyone has boundaries. And when their boundaries get crossed, it sometimes triggers them. How do you handle that? Or how do you recommend other people handle that?
Yeah, you really need to figure out what is it that you do. So, for example, are you an enabler? Are you someone who's like hyper responsible? Are you a perfectionist? Like, where do the boundaries need to be that people are crossing that
Mhm.
you need to put up that boundaries? Let's say you're a control freak and
Mhm.
you're trying to be in everyone's business and be their savior and whatever. You need to put that boundary up and say, okay, I don't need to take on their thing just because they told me about it. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to save them. I don't need. So you put your own boundary up. So what you might say is, oh, wow, so sorry to hear that. What are you going to do about that?
Mm.
And just be quiet and to
Mm.
let them figure it out. And when you start doing things differently, then they will start doing things differently. So that's how the boundaries help because if, let's say, you're always the one who gets dumped on and takes everyone's problems, you're not going to do that anymore. So you put up that boundary and go, wow, sorry you had that problem. What are you
Mm.
going to do?
That's interesting. Do you think a lot of people are inherently people pleasers and that's really what holds them back from doing that?
I was a people pleaser. I was an enabler. Usually people wind up in two different ends of a ditch. There's a
Mm.
healthy place in the middle, but when one person is really hyper something, the other person compensates by being hyper something else. So if one person is really lazy and foolish and irresponsible, the other one becomes responsible, controlling, perfectionism. And then you have two ugly, hurt people who just keep hurting each other in this vicious, ugly cycle. The number one thing that everyone wants who has breath is to be unconditionally loved. We want to be
Mm.
loved for who we are. We don't want to be fixed. We don't want to be coached. We just want you to love us for who we are. And then the number one need women have is security. So they want to know their man is going to give them security. And for a man, they want to be respected. But what happens is when a woman starts feeling insecure, she starts treating her man differently in a way that's disrespectful. He thinks he's being disrespected, which he is. And so he starts doing things to make her feel less secure. And now you've got this ugly cycle. But when you look at it from a 10-foot view looking down, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on there. But you have to know these things. And when
Yeah.
you have hurt people who are doing things that they have learned habitually, they just keep hurting each other and they get in this vicious, ugly cycle. That's why the coaching is so good because you have someone who can look in from the outside and it's easy to see what's going on when you're not in the thick of it.
Everyone I've spoken to, almost everyone on this show, and as well as friends I have a similar story where it took a moment like that where you either hit rock bottom or you go through this dark path and then something happens, something either triggers or something gives you greater perspective, connection, purpose, passion, and you get back on your feet and you go out even stronger and you use your skills and your knowledge for a much, much more impactful, whatever objective you're trying to achieve. And they usually become much more successful after that. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. Anyone who's done anything great has overcome something difficult. The movies we love the most are the true stories or based on a true story where
Yeah.
someone overcame something that was so unreasonably difficult. But the idea is they got knocked down 10 times and they got up 11.
Mm.
And that's what it takes to really thrive. Otherwise, you're going to spend your life as a victim. And the victim energy, which is actually an energy you can measure, is equivalent to a decaying body. So it's
Really?
basically really, yeah, it's the lowest level that you can still be alive, breathing, but your body's actually decaying. That's victim energy. The highest level is
That's
love,
crazy.
joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. That's love is the highest level. And in the middle, the thing that's the tipping point that gets people to go from victim to love is courage. Are you willing to get back up? Will you be bold enough to do it again, try it again, take a risk again, might fail again? Are you willing to try and get back up again, no matter how many times you've been knocked down. And look at the Michael Jordans, or so
Right.
many great examples of the people who took another shot, got back up again, did more than anyone else did.
Why is it people get stuck in the victim mentality? I know people who have gone through something, but they don't want to face it. They want to hide it. They want to bury it. They don't want to embrace it and let it be that moment in time that redefines their future and helps them achieve something more powerful and significant in the road. They're just stuck. It's like they don't want to go down the dark path. They just want to stand still a few feet into the dark tunnel and not go anywhere. Why do people do that?
Yeah. Well, there are studies that have looked at what is the thing. Is it that they were firstborn? Were they born to a rich family? Did they have the best education at the best school? And the thing that they found was education didn't matter. How wealthy you were didn't matter. None of that mattered. What mattered was grit. So that
Mm.
you were gritty enough to get back up and try again. And what I have found is the people who can accept their situation. So you get a cancer diagnosis, you can't sit there and go, I don't know cancer, I don't know cancer. I don't know." But two people can have a similar cancer diagnosis, and one decide, I'm going to live. I am going to thrive. Like this cancer just starts speaking to the cancer, like, go away, get out of my body, be gone, all the things. Or people can sit there and go, the cancer's growing, it's getting bigger, it's taking over my organs, the diagnosis is going to be terrible, the doctor's going to tell me I have 6 months left. And what they show is that when a person is given an amount of time to live, they die almost to the day of what the doctor told them. So if the doctor says you get 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, almost to the day, because they just have in their mind their death date, and they start working backwards and they will die on that day. And
That is
so
crazy, Kelli.
it is, but it's the mind, it's the power of the mind. And the people who decide, you know what, I'm going to look for every alternative natural thing. I'm going to stop eating sugar. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to sleep enough. I'm going to look for naturopathic doctors. I'm going to juice. I'm going to whatever. They buy the books, they read the recipes, they do the hard thing. And not always, people may still die, but they may live longer with better quality, or they may beat it and live another 20 years. So we have a choice in everything. We can choose to crawl under the rock and stay in bed and take the diagnosis and just suffer through it like a victim, or we can get up and fight and do our best to have the best outcome.
The victim comment to me is amazing. It's very powerful to think about that. But okay, well, I have a couple thoughts. It makes me think of an emotional zombie. Like you're alive, you're physically not a zombie state, but you're agreeing and subjecting your emotions and your soul to an emotional zombie state. Where did you get that information from? Like the overall idea or concept that they have proven that the energy that your body produces in a victim mentality is equivalent to a dying body.
So there's a book called Power versus Force by Dr. Hawkins. He has since passed, but he has several books. And in those books, he explains all the energy levels and how that works. So you can feel it too on a person. When someone walks in the room and, they're bitter, it's like, ooh, like you could feel that bitterness. And when someone walks in the room and they're filled with energy and they draw you in, you're like, wow, what do they have? I want some of that. Like,
Right.
whoa, I want to be with that person. And when I leave their presence, I just feel so peaceful and I feel loved. And we can feel energy on people. I was with a friend last night whose husband passed away within the last, less than a year. And you can just feel it won't be forever, but it's still fresh. Like her husband that she loved had a long suffering death. And so when you're with her, it brings my energy down a little bit, not in a bad way, but I want to match her a little bit and bring her up. Like I don't want to come in, hey, life's great. And she's just still sad. So you can sit with your friend in that little bit of a lower energy state versus someone who's in a different season and their energy is higher. But I don't stay down when I leave her, but I want to be empathetic and kind of match that she's hurting. She wants someone to sit with her. Now she'll come out of it in time and she's working on it and she's doing counseling and grief coaching and all that. But you feel that energy even when she speaks. She wants to honor her husband, and you want to sit there and honor her husband with her because that's her heart and that's not a bad thing. But it won't be forever. Maybe in
Yeah.
2 months she'll start dating. I don't know. But it's where she is now. So yeah, people have energy to
Oh,
them.
totally. People completely have energy. And that leads to my next point. You made me think of like the negativity from media, the negativity from just overall content that you're looking at on screens. What about the energy that comes from people? Like the old saying goes, you're a product of whoever your close 5 friends are, or whatever the saying is. And there's some truth to that, because you're essentially absorbing the energies from other people, and you're kind of mirroring that. How do you personally get rid of or eliminate and marginalize the people that do have negative energies?
Yeah, so there's no one in my inner circle, my intimate circle, that's anything less than great energy. Doesn't mean they don't have a bad day or get stressed or afraid or whatever, but for the most part, they're full of wisdom and joy and life. The people who are negative, judgy, gossipy, they're nowhere near. They don't get on the inside. There's friends who I love, but I know what I'm dealing with if I choose to interact with them. Like I have a friend who likes to be a martyr. She likes to let me know what's going on and that she needs help, but doesn't ever want help. So I don't even ask her anymore. Like, you're moving? Okay, good luck. Let me know how it goes. Because I've asked so many times, like, can I help you? What can I do? I've got a truck. I've got a, and so now it's just like, okay, she just wants to tell me that she's suffering and she's choosing to be a martyr. And, that if I choose to respond, that I know what I'm dealing with. So
Yeah.
I choose not to let anyone into that intimate circle that's going to drag me down. If someone wants to come up and they want me to mentor them, I'm all about it. I love to mentor people who want to get to the next level, but they have to show me that they're doing it. So I give you something to do and then you do it and then we do the next thing and the next thing. But if I give you something to do and you're still complaining, gossiping, filled with excuses, then you get moved out a
Yeah.
circle.
You get fired by you. Now, how do you call people out? Do you tell them, hey, you know what? You have some negative energy about you. Where's this coming from? Do you speak about it?
Yeah, so I have a friend right now who's going through a lot and she is afraid. She's making a lot of big life decisions and I could just feel the fear on her. I can see it looking from that 10,000-foot view of she's trying to control a lot of things. There's a lot of big decisions and she's got herself kind of worked up in this chaos. So sometimes my part is to be a friend who will listen and then I can say, "Hey, what's the story you're telling yourself about this? Is this really happening?" Or I can say, okay, practically speaking, what if you just didn't do that? Or what if you just stopped? Or so I can give coaching advice again to get them to think differently. If what you're doing is not working, something different has to happen, or you can keep suffering and spinning this way. You've got a
Yeah.
choice. And asking different questions can really help because it stops people in their tracks and go, wait a minute. Okay, I've been in fear now for a long time, or I've been trying to control and this hasn't been working. And okay, what would it look like if this was different?
Do you have like a common link that you've seen with people that are inspiring, motivating, positive? They have a good vibe. They want to create, explore their skills and talents, help others. The people that are in your circle that have those type of energies and vibes, what's some commonalities between those people in terms of practice, behaviors, mindsets, or any other factors that may be contributing to those?
Yeah, they've usually been through a lot. One of the core values that people in my group typically have are it's usually some type of faith base where they believe there's something bigger than us. There's
Mm.
something that there's more than that. Like if I'm it, that's sad. If my brain and my body is all there is, that's pretty sad. So a lot of us, the commonality is faith. So right there, that just gives you an idea of the core values of the people. They're honest, they have integrity, they're hardworking, all those things kind of go along with a faith-based community. So right away, find your commonality. If it's motorcycles or gardening or whatever it might be, find your people, find your tribe, but then find the ones that you really vibe with who are ahead of you doing what you want to do. So core values, like even I'm not dating yet, but if I were dating, there's certain core values that are non-negotiables for me. You need to
Mm.
be someone who's trustworthy. If I can't trust you, they're like, I'm not going to spend, time wondering and worrying. That's not going to work for me. You need to have
Yeah.
some fruit in your life, meaning at this stage of your life, I'm in my almost mid 50s. So you need to show some good things. You've got relationships, you've got a good career, you've established, you've invested, you've a good circle. So know what your core values and your non-negotiables are. And for example, I'm not going to hang out with people who do drugs and get drunk every night. And, that's not for me. I'm not judging them, but that's not going to work for me at all. I'm not going to go in and go, I can get them to quit smoking. I can get them to lose 100 pounds. I can get, no, you like what you see is what you get. If they want to change, that's on them, but you can't go in thinking you're going to change anyone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or
And
save anyone. I'm not anyone's savior. I tried that. It didn't work.
all right, Kelly, what does success mean to you and how do you define success for yourself?
Yeah, I define success as what I call the highest possible good, which for me is love. So every day, that's the barometer. That's the lens that I look through when I make all my decisions is to let love win. So if love is the highest energy and love is the highest possible good, how can that win in every situation? And that's what I want to relentlessly contend for every single day. For me, I'm at a time in my life right now where I do have a lot of freedom of time and resources where I can wake up every day and say, okay, God, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
And for me, I want to go out and just be the hands and feet of a helper that I can go and serve and help people in a variety of different realms. And so that's what I'm open to right now. So I have the freedom to do that. And it's pretty awesome.
You have to have had some bad days. Everyone has bad days. How do you handle the bad days? And what, like, if you get, some negativity thrown at you, or you get a desire to go eat a full pizza yourself or a gallon of ice cream or whatever it is, how do you handle those kind of urges or negativity yourself?
Yeah, I will manage what I can on my own, keeping my goals in mind and go, okay, yeah, you want the chocolate ice cream, but if you eat it, you're gonna have cellulite on your legs. But I still may have some ice cream. I may still do it, but I know there's gonna be a price to pay if I do. If I can't manage it on my own, I will dial a friend and be connected and surrounded by really wise people who will tell you like it is. They're not emotionally attached to your outcomes and their situations, but they have different perspective and they can see things because they're not in the heat of it or the emotion of it, who might just give you a word that you needed to hear and you're like, "Ah, okay, that's what I needed." Like it's sometimes just one word, one saying, one remembrance and you're like, "Okay, I'm good." For me, I will write things down. I will get outside, clear my mind. I will do like a affirmations where I'll go out and I'll walk around the lake and I'll just affirm whatever it is that I want to move towards and speak against what I want to move away from. So I am strong, I am powerful, I am confident, I am bold. So I'll just walk and repeat all these affirmations and move towards the things that I want, and sometimes you're moving away from the things that you don't want at the same time. There are definitely success habits of super achievers. In fact, that's my latest best-selling book. It's called Success Habits of Super Achievers. So that tells the story of 80 ordinary people, just like you and I, who
Yeah.
had something unreasonably difficult happen to them, which we all have, but they got back up again. And they did it in such a resilient way. And they went out to do something that made a difference in the world. So if they had whatever the thing was, like for me, my story in that book is about my divorce. And so I got back up and I took time and I healed and I got certified and did all the training. And then I created a divorce recovery program where I help women get through that grief of divorce to not only healthy and readjusted, but really to a place of wow.
And I like your two of your books. So the Passionistas, is that one?
Yeah.
And then the Mom and Dadpreneurs, that's
Yes.
the other. Which one came first out of the two?
So Passionistas actually came out right before Mom and Dadpreneurs. Passionistas basically is stories of women who are super achievers who tell a story that they would tell to their younger self. So it was initially intended for millennials when it was written about 6 years ago, but men love it. All ages love it. It's been incredible how many people read that book. But that was the original market was for younger women, and the millennials are amazing. Older women have so much to learn from millennials, but it was really wisdom from life stories. The Mom and Dadpreneurs that tell stories of about 30 different people who are all different walks. They're married, they're single, they're adopted parents, they're blended families, and they were able to put their family as a priority, their lifestyle. This was way pre-COVID, and still be a super achiever in whatever their talents are, whatever industry that they're called to, but they weren't doing a 70-hour work week commuting to an office kind of thing. They found a way to have a great lifestyle and build a business.
How do people get in touch? What are your various current programs or coaching that people can engage with you on?
Yeah, so any women going through separation, divorce, post divorce, I have a program called Intentionally Fabulous, single redefined. They can go to intentionallyfabulous.com. They can get it there. And I also have my coaching on there. If they want group coaching or one-on-one coaching, they can add to it. I have a free Facebook page that anyone can go to. It's called Intentionally Fabulous. And I pour into that page every day. I'm posting things. We talk about the hard things. We support and encourage each other. We laugh, and it's just a good community. And when people are going through divorce, there's really a lot of loneliness and isolation, and they need a tribe. So that's a
Yeah.
great place. And then kellycalabrese.com, they can find the books. And I've got a YouTube channel with 100 plus videos on there, life coaching topics.
I certainly appreciate you coming on the show. This has been very insightful. I love your energy. You're very positive. You're putting off your best foot, and it's authentically showing. And I can see how people really resonate with you and engage with you from overall health, fitness, mindset, mindfulness, and relationship as well, or even just improving and healing from trauma. And I think you're very effective. And I think you have a very good skill that you're using in the right way. And it definitely shows. And you're passionate about it.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you bringing this show to the world. The world needs shows like this, more positive messages that are impactful. So thank you for your commitment to making this happen.
No problem. Thank you. Let's keep in touch. I would love to see where things go and just overall, and maybe even engage you for a variety of different things myself, because I want to get more fit and improve my overall health and mental space. So, and you're a great person to do that. So let's keep in touch.
We will do it. I would love that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.